G'day TW Moore. Now, this is a really great question. So, are there any benefits to setting up a trust with kids nominated? How do you make them make money instead of cost it? Can a basic company structure revamp a way to save on car and other asset procurement? Like Max said above, those great explanations I needed to hear as well. This is great. I'm going to cover it off. So we've been talking around family trusts and how can we leverage a family trust in order to maximize the benefits. We've also spoken about some of the situations where a family trust actually doesn't add a lot of value. Now, a family trust is, as the name denotes, a mechanism for generational wealth transfer. And for many of our clients, they utilize a family trust along with company structures and essentially utilizing them in combination to create generational wealth for future generations. Now, it is your responsibility as a parent to try and educate your children with all the lessons that you wish you knew as a child. Because I know certainly when I was a child, my parents did their best in order to teach me lessons, but they had a very poor experience with money. They never had a lot of money. They were very, very hard workers, but they never had any wealth. So I had to work out a lot of this stuff for myself. And I've said this numerous times. I wish I knew what I know now, like 10, 15, 20 years ago, right? It would have made a world of difference. So our job is to try and teach our children to become financial stewards and impart them the skills and the wisdom so they can go out and make money for themselves. And B, if they do get an inheritance, then not to turn them into entitled brats. The famous saying from Warren Buffett is give your children so much that they can do anything, but not so much as they choose to do nothing. And I cover this off in my third book called The Family Vault, How to Create Generational Wealth and Keep It. Now, you can use a family trust in order to allow your children to learn the fundamentals of money management. And there are a number of fundamentals that they need to learn. In the Family Vault, I come up with a list of 40 fundamental principles that you should be teaching your children to ensure that they have the right foundations in order to make good decisions, scale their careers, build businesses, inherit wealth, take over the family business, do all of these number of things. First one really comes down to how do you actually understand your value and create high profit, high value skills that allow you to trade your time for money. Because ultimately, if you have high value skills that are always going to be in demand, then you have the ability to monetize your time and ensure that you never go hungry. This is really critical to learn, and this is about understanding your behavioral psychology, what are your intrinsic strengths and weaknesses, and what are those intrinsic strengths and weaknesses lending yourself to in terms of what is going to come natural to you? How are you going to find yourself in that Kaizen zone, in that Ikigai zone, where you are able to find the overlay between passion, profit, and purpose, right? Then it's about understanding how do you control your cash flow? How do we actually understand our income versus our expenses and surplus? And then how do we allocate that surplus to work for us? And ultimately, this comes down to the 50-30-20 rule. 50% for fixed expenses, 30% for discretionary spending, 20% for surplus at a minimum. And the idea should be that we save first and we spend what is left. Then, how do you actually create an investment strategy? How do you understand asset allocation? What are the various asset classes? Cash, bonds and fixed interest, property, shares, infrastructure, other alternative investments, private business, and work out how do you blend your asset allocation depending on your risk tolerance to allow you to get a balance of risk versus return. Understanding debt and leverage. How do you use good debt? How do you avoid bad debt? Or if you need to use bad debt, for example, to buy your home, how do you try and pay that off as quickly as possible? Understanding opportunity cost evaluation. Of how do you identify the opportunity and the value of that opportunity, the costs that are associated as inputs, and working out how do you get a return on the investment and whether it's a good allocation of your time and your resources. And then how do we shift from accumulation of assets into the increase of passive income so we've got more freedom and flexibility for the future. These are all fundamental principles that you should teach. Now, I believe these are far more important than the structure or the entity that the activity takes place in. Because ultimately, what this comes down to is 4 factors, okay? This is the matrix for long-term wealth creation. 1, understand the macro drivers. What is it that we're actually trying to achieve? What's the big picture? What are the contributing factors that are outside of our control? Micro, what are the specifics of our situation? Okay, what are those inflows, outflows, our current assets, our current debts, understanding our P&L and balance sheet. Then the matrix. What is the menu of options that are available in order for us to be able to make informed and educated decisions? Because we make the best decisions based on what's on our menu, right? And then lastly, what is our reflection loop? How do we review our decisions and we objectively assess them, good, bad, indifferent, and then optimize and improve over time? And this is ultimately what we should be teaching people and what we should be learning ourselves. So I hope this has been valuable. This is what we teach our clients, right? We work with clients who are 6, 7, and 8-figure business owners, and we're not taught this stuff. And for many people, they know how to make money. They've got a successful business that's got them to that 6, 7, or 8 figures, but they don't know how to keep it, and they certainly don't know how to put it to work for them. And this is about understanding these fundamental principles that are tried and true. And once we learn them, we can then pass them on to our team members, to our family, to our friends. We can write books. There's lots of things that we can do to be able to create a legacy and make an impact in the lives of others. So I hope this is valuable. Any questions, let me know.